Hi, welcome back to the Jac and Glen channel. I'm Jackie.
And I'm her husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glenn.
Hey, before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews. Today, we're reviewing Married at First Sight, Reunion Part 2. We have come to the end.
Not really. The end of the reunion, but...
End of the reunion. It's still one more left.
Not the end of the season.
Not the end of the season. One more left to the season. They're dragging this bad boy on.
You still can't get rid of these people.
Can't get rid of them. Can't get rid of them. But while they're here, we can keep doing reviews for you. So, nonetheless, let's get started. Reunion Part 2. It kicks off. Kevin is meeting with the women.
Yes.
He meet with all the women in their multiple color dresses, looking like a bag of Skittles.
Yeah, they said they wanted to make sure they didn't wear the same color.
Yeah, they want to make sure they didn't wear the same color. So
we got red, green, what was Noise, kind of peachy.
Yeah. Rainbow
fuchsia.
Color. Fuchsia.
And what's her face have on? Red?
Red. It was, look, anyway, Skittles.
Sure, except for Noise.
Except for Noise. Anyway. Oh, man. But what do you want to...
Lindsay. Okay, first of all, Kevin was like, you know, do y'all keep in touch? Does everybody keep in touch with everybody? And Jasmine was like, yeah, we got a group thread, text thread, you know, that we keep in touch on, which I'm sure Lindsay's not a part of if Alyssa's on there. Which they didn't really say that.
Yeah, they really didn't tell. Alyssa said she blocked her, but she didn't say about the group thread. So I figured all of them on the group thread, and she just don't respond to Lindsay.
Yeah, a lot of times if it's somebody in a group thread that you don't like, you don't even try to be on there. So, I don't know. I feel like she might not be on there because Lindsay's petty too, you know. But anyway, so yeah, they talked about the fact that Alyssa blocked Lindsay, like, from the jump.
Night number one.
From the jump, like the bachelorette party. She blocked me. And so what Alyssa said is because she said some foul stuff, you know, some mean stuff, you know, at the bachelorette party, just kind of talked bad about her. I heard about some things that she said about me. And so I just didn't want that kind of person, you know, and on my social media feed, you know. No, I'm not doing that. And Lindsay was like, I called and apologized though, but Alyssa was like, look, I'm not going to sit here and listen to no foolishness, these lies. You called to apologize, but you did it, like, in a mean way. And, you know, like, no. I hung up on you. I was like, I'm not doing that. It's just...
But you're not gonna talk bad about me and then expect to apologize and I go with it.
Yeah. So Kevin's like, anybody else blocked her? No, they didn't block her. Jasmine said, I unfollowed her. I did unfollow her, so...
And I'm gonna skip ahead of that because we come to find out why she unfollowed her. She unfollowed her because there was an incident after one of the after parties where her and Lindsay got into it because Lindsay was talking about Alyssa, and she told, basically she kicked Jasmine out of her car.
Because Jasmine said, listen, I'm not going to sit here. She said, and Jasmine said, I do this with anybody. If Alyssa was talking about Lindsay, which she don't, because she don't care. She added that. She don't care about you. She ain't talking about you. But she was like, I'm not going to let somebody I'm friends with talk about somebody else that I'm friends with. Like, you're just not going to do that, especially not in their presence. So that was her thing. And Lindsay was like, well, I mean, the airport entrance right there, you can get out and walk.
Yeah, she basically like, yo, you can go ahead and walk.
So that's why she unfollowed her for real.
They should have been beefing, though. You ain't going to kick me out the car. It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
But she didn't literally, like, kick her out. She was like, you can get out.
You can get out.
Same thing.
Same thing. Same difference.
So Kevin asked the girls, are you surprised that Mark and Lindsay, what happened with Mark and Lindsay and Jasmine and Michael? Katina was like, no, I'm not surprised, you know, because I know how each of their relationships are. She said me and Olajuwon used to talk to Jasmine and Michael, try to give them some advice. So we knew how that was. And, you know, we know how kind of volatile Mark and Lindsay were, so you weren't surprised. Noy said she was surprised. She knew about Jasmine and Michael's communication issues, but like to the point where they would like break up and it would be so fast, like that surprised her.
Yeah, she think that the length of time would be fast. She didn't think the length of time. She thought they would work through it. She thought if any couple could make it, that it would be Michael and Jasmina. Mark and Lindsay, I think everybody like these two right here a little bit.
Yeah, she was like, they had some real intense emotions, and I knew it would be, you know, something. But they talked about how Katina and Olajuwon's little discussions would be about, you know, her not not being woman or wife enough, and not having life skills and couldn't cook or whatever. Jasmine was like, "Oh, I cussed Olajuwon out plenty of days." I told him, "You talking about she can't cook? You can't cook either. You don't cook. What you talking about?"
That was the point where she's like, if she cussed Olajuwon, I know she cussed Michael. If she cussed Olajuwon, I know she cussed Michael. Just the aggressiveness, but he's the aggressive one though. We all know Katina. Not Katina. We all know Jasmine got a little bit of hood in her.
I mean,
she has a little bit, and you can see it at times that she has a little bit of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah. Lindsay talked about the fact that what she liked about O though is that he could admit that he was wrong and own it and make changes and adjust fire. Jasmine says he catches himself and he apologizes, and they talked about the fact that Katina was like, I talk stuff back to him, especially now. Kevin was like, how are you dealing with it now? She was like, oh, I talk back. And basically she said I talked back before, like you probably didn't see it and probably not to the same extent, but yeah, I talked back before.
Because it didn't go on camera. I mean, a lot of things Katina did wasn't on camera, wasn't seen on camera, and I think she did give it back to him at times, and he recognized it, and now there's no cameras, and guess what? She gives him the business. They go back and forth. That's marriage. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you got to cuss each other or put hands on each other, but in marriage, you're going to have disagreements. In marriage, you're going to have times where you're going to go back and forth with each other. You have to do it respectfully. And I think that's the key there. That's how you do it, not that how you present it. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. They talked about Noy and Steve. How did the girls feel about Noy and Steve? And they were like, basically, they were the perfect couple. Mm-hmm. And so when they watched the show, they were kind of surprised at some of the friction that they had. It was like, wow,
Yeah, we didn't know
we didn't know it was like that. And basically, we know from Noy, like Noy and Steve, they really didn't put their business out there. They kind of, kept it to
Noy
themselves.
put it out there. She just put it on social media.
Yeah, like indirect
messages.
But they talked about Steve not having a job. Like, how did y'all feel about that? Katina was like, well, I figured anyway, bro was on this trip for months. He had to have had some money. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't talk down to him or treat him bad because he didn't have no job. Because he obviously had some money.
Right.
So it's a thing for you to have a job where you have money. He had some money. And Lindsay was like, no, bruh, needs a job. Gotta have a job. Need to see you drive.
But you don't understand. What if? Well, we get into the whole thing later. But what if you already had the drive? Did you put the drive in? Now the money. You worked hard enough before you got to this process. Now you're in this process. It's starting to pay off. Which, in case for Steve's case, he worked hard, and a lot of this stuff now is paying off during the process.
I think this is the same thing that we've been talking about the whole season. Is job like 9 to 5? No, job 9 to 5 or a job to make some money. You know what I'm saying? I think people are confusing like a steady 9 to 5 with working. Because I can work but not have a traditional, let me say it like that, a traditional 9 to 5 where I sit at a desk and I do this from 9 to 5 and 5 is my cutoff. I don't do nothing else.
Yeah.
I could have a job, but it's not a traditional. So I think the whole season that's been blurred. It's not that he don't want to work, meaning do something.
He don't want a traditional.
I just don't want a traditional 9 to 5 where I'm sitting working for somebody else at this punching the clock and ticking on this keyboard all day.
Yeah, sitting at a desk. I got it. Or standing up on my feet all day. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was they didn't judge him throughout it all. It was like, we didn't judge him. But question was, who do you think will have kids first? Of course, everybody said Noy. Noy even raised her hand.
Noy wants them 3 babies.
She want to have kids. They talked about going back to the other conversation with Lindsay being blocked or whatever. Then they come back to, Lindsay lacks a filter. Mm-hmm. She rubbed people the wrong way. Like everybody at some point. And so, Kevin's like, did your lack of filter get you in trouble plenty of times? She was like, oh yeah, it got me in trouble.
Oh, she knows. I mean, let's be honest. She knows that she has a lack of filter. She knows that her mouth gets her in trouble.
And she's not for everybody.
And she's not for everybody. She does not care. She doesn't care. And we see that a little bit later on. She does not care. And she don't care what you think about her because it's going to be okay. I can just pack up and move again. So.
Alyssa, they went back to the Alyssa Lindsay thing, and you know, Alyssa was like, yeah, she rubbed me wrong plenty of times, like from the jump. Don't feel like being bothered with her.
Yeah. Well, Alyssa rubbed
but
me
this
wrong.
is a twofold thing, because Lindsay lacks a filter. She's a mess, but that daggone Alyssa, she is.
But everybody seemed to like Alyssa though.
But she's like very drama filled, and it's like over the top. Later on, when she's talking to the experts, I was just like, oh gosh, here we go. But anyway, they talked about the fact that Alyssa was messaging Mark. Alyssa said he actually sent me a message first. He was checking on me to see how I was doing, and all the other girls was like, well, honestly, we all message each other because we're all in this together, so it's not like out of the ordinary. Katina said, I saw the messages. It was nothing scandalous or inappropriate there for you to be getting upset. You just mad because she messaged him, but he messaged her.
Yeah, and I mean, Lindsay's thing was that you're out of the process, stay out of the process.
Right.
Don't be in and out, try to find what's going on. We ain't trying to hang out with you. Don't try to be messing with our man. We working on our own marriage. Yours is over. Let it be over. Leave ours alone. That was her biggest thing. Like, yo, you're out. Basically, if once you say you was out, we kicked you out of the group chat, the family, everything should stop with you. And Alyssa didn't feel that way, so.
But it really should. But I understand how it didn't. Like stay out of this process. Like, we can be friends, but we're not gonna bring you into the married and really being in this group makes you part of the married at first process.
But she was, man, because she was married for 10 whole days.
Right, but I'm saying, you know, because you didn't know us before this. Yeah. You don't have to know us after.
And you didn't really get to know us even much more after this unless you hang out at the apartment all the time.
Which she obviously was, because, like, anyway.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have got to know us that great.
But yeah, again, Jasmina just talks about the thing with Alyssa and Lindsay that, you know, Alyssa didn't talk about you. She could care less. Lindsay did a lot of the talking about her, running her mouth or whatever. And that's when they talk about the thing with the airport and the after party. They also got on Tattoo Gate.
Yeah, the tattoo.
The lion tattoo versus the eagle tattoo, and how Alyssa kept saying it was an eagle tattoo, but originally it was a lion tattoo, but didn't want to make it a little tiff.
And then when Noy feels some type of way.
Yeah, and feel like that was actually supposed to be her man, and they were like, well, obviously it's not your man, because I got the man. It wasn't meant to be. Find you somebody else.
Do you maybe think about that. Do you think Alyssa would have been with Steve? Do you think if that was the case and they hadn't matched, if the tattoo situation was, you know, whatever, would you think she could have dealt with Steve? I don't think Steve could have dealt with her neither. I don't think she has anybody in a relationship.
I mean, I don't know how she would have acted if she got somebody halfway what she expected. I don't know how, we don't know how she I don't know how she would have acted. Because this is the only person that we've seen.
I mean, that's the question I would have asked if I was Kevin. If it would have been Steve, would you have acted the same way?
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I just go. You know, when it was on that tangent, I would have been like, hey, if it would have been Steve, do you think you would have lasted long in the process? I mean, good question. Though. So
yeah. But
I do think Story, Noy and Chris would have made it if that was Max. I think they would have been okay.
I don't know. You never know. But and last but not least, the ladies talked about Kevin asked ladies, okay, so the women that don't have men, who do you think they would, you know? And they talked about Jasmina, how she needs a guy that's this, that, and the other. And I'm listening myself.
Yeah, me too.
And then they finally said it. It was like, well, we basically talking about Michael. Everything they described was Michael. Like, I'm confused.
She would like to communicate. Y'all didn't say communication.
Y'all didn't say communication. But it wasn't that. Let's be real. You just, in the end,
just didn't like him.
You didn't like the way he looked. And she says, well, she'll say that. We'll get to that later. Yeah. But to me, it came down to you didn't like the way he looked. And you got hung up on one thing in particular, the communication thing that you didn't like. Like, you couldn't get past that. They said Alyssa needs a cowboy. Jasmine was all hyped up. Let me say it first. And she didn't say nothing but
She needs a
She
cowboy.
needs a cowboy.
I'm glad
Thing
I'm glad Kevin was like, you did all that just to say cowboy?
And
love Kevin. Love Kevin.
Yeah, and so basically Lindsay needs somebody that can handle her.
Yeah.
Basically. So then next, Kevin sits down with the guys, sits down with all the guys, and he was like, "It looks like y'all really developed a real bromance. Yeah, we had a bromance, you know, hanging out with each other and you know, encouraging each other, whatever." He asked, "Did you feel like you had to like be there and stand up for and defend Mark?" And they were like, "You know, yeah. You know, I talked to Lindsay a lot. The problem is that she doesn't take accountability for the things that she says and how she hurts him." And
what's funny is she likes O because O said it. She liked O for the fact that he takes accountability and does all that. And,
but she don't do it.
But she doesn't do it. And that's why I thought it was funny. O does all this, and you like the attributes of O, but you can't do it. And O is Elijah one for those who watch, maybe do. So
yeah, Elijah one. Mark says that with him, it was like, you know, they did kind of help me through it, but the thing was, he was like, it was just that last fight that we had, and he was like, you know, she spit on my shirt. She spit on my shirt. You know, she's giving me the worst bullying I've ever had in my life.
Dude looks miserable, man. He looks beat down. He hates talking about this, and I know it's months after, but he really.
He says that later. He says that later. That's why Kevin was like,
yo, in
that scene. You know, in that setting with all the guys, he basically was like, "Mark, you look so different. You look lighter. You look." He was like, "Yeah,
I'm around the guys.
I ain't got the stress of that old crazy chick." But Mark said, you know, he did acknowledge that Lindsay, you know, she had good intentions, but you know, and they had some good moments, but it was hard fighting past those triggers, like those major times where they were just, you know, having fallen out. And it was, you know, she's been there for me. She was there because they talked about how Mark went through the thing with his cat and, you know, the health issues in the house and bed bugs. And he was like, she was there and I appreciated it. You know, she really came through, but man, when it was bad, it was bad.
But again, you have some good moments, you have some bad moments, and their bad moments were really bad moments, right? Their bad moments were like at a level 10, right? Good moments, you know, were great, but when you went bad, you were DEFCON 5. You know, you don't want to have to go through those range of emotions like, hey, we good, and then we like, what happened?
Michael said that. He was like, you know, it's like when you have all this negative, you know, it really outweighs the positive that Lindsay did, because the negative, it's not just like, oh, it's bad. No, it's like really bad. It's really bad. It's so much to fight against.
Just imagine the stuff we didn't see. If she spat on him, the cussing, the fussing, if she if she told him on camera to go and to go live with your mama and all that, you know.
Oh, you know it got worse.
You know it got worse. And you know, even when they showed that, I can't remember, was this episode, Michael cringed. Michael, like, I can't believe, Michael, like, they showed Michael's face and he was like, oh my God.
Yeah, because that's what Kevin talks to him next, was like, you know, when you watch the season, you know, were you surprised at along those lines how Alyssa acted? And Michael was like, bro, I did not know she was talking about my man like that.
Yeah.
When she didn't realize the cameras were rolling, like she talked bad about him. Like I just didn't know that she was hitting that hard. Like everybody could tell it was, you know, something there, but not like that. And they obviously, and the video confirmed it, like as bad as she talked about Chris, he did not do that with her. You know, he just didn't.
He kept it respectful the whole time.
He just didn't.
Now, I'm guaranteed he thought some things, but he has enough in him to like, you know what, I'm not going to put this out there like that.
Yeah, but he just doesn't seem like the type of person that would just do that. You know. But, so Kevin asked the question, so was she a good person? Chris is like, it's a loaded question.
That's a loaded question.
Kevin said, yeah, it is. It's a loaded question. But he said, you know, I think she just did not handle the pressure of being mismatched well. And who's to say how any of us will you know, you never know how somebody's going.
I'm sorry, he gave a political answer. Joe, she's a decent person, just not to me. That's my answer. She's a decent person, just not to me.
I can't, but in that case, I can't even say she's a decent person.
Because she get along with the girls.
For the most part.
Yeah, so She's a nice person. I just wasn't her cowboy looking guy. Maybe she should have brought some boots and a hat.
I don't know.
Maybe that would work. He would have came up with some cowboy boots and a hat the next day on a honeymoon. She might have liked him then.
They talked about how Noy and Steve, when she said at the end, like, I don't want to live together. Did you get thrown for a loop with that, Steve? And he was like, well, yeah, you know, the fact that she didn't want to move in after decision day, you know, it hit me out of the blue. I was like, where's this coming from? They talked about the fact that it would have been good to know that up front, not when it came to decision day. Then you could, you know, play it a little better. He was like, but you know, I had to understand where she was coming from and weigh it out. Like, is this a big thing? Can I get past this? And obviously he did. Yeah. And for the most part, they do live together.
Just one day out of the week.
Yeah. They talk about Lajuan and his ideals about a wife, and you know, how did the guys feel about it? And Steve was like, you know, I feel like Lajuan learned a lot in the process. We all came into this with expectation and what we thought things would look like and be, and you know, Olajuwon kind of like stuck to that, but then he realized, you know, maybe I should change.
When he saw himself on TV, he said it. When I saw myself, I was like, God, dog, I'm at. But yeah, I need to change myself. And I think that in his mind, he was like, he thought he was doing right and everything was good until he saw it. And not only did he see it, he heard our comments, other people's comments. He saw everybody's Twitter. He realized, you know what? I wasn't raised like this. Well, maybe I was raised like this, but I need to change my behavior. If I want to keep Katina, I need to change my behavior.
Yeah, and Michael said, funny thing is now, when Katina cooks for him, whatever, he calls me, man, she cooked for me, man. And they were like, and she's cooking stuff like out of the ordinary. You know, it's not like regular, you know, and he's making meals that he didn't expect. He was like, hey, y'all, she made me so-and-so lobster tail. I think that's what he said, lobster tail. So,
she got a HelloFresh subscription. He don't even know about it.
I ain't mad at him.
I ain't mad at it. Whatever works.
But you still gotta cook it.
Still gotta cook it.
See?
The little microwave where hit the card, Dean.
Yeah, they asked with Jasmina and Michael what Michael could have done different, and Mark was like, I think you could have just relaxed more. Stop overthinking and putting, you know, just like and everybody said that. His sister said that he knew that. I need to not overthink, and it just ruined them.
He overthinker. I mean, his overthinking caused him not being able to be relaxed in the situation in the moment. Caused him. So we'll know.
Next, we see the experts sit down. First, they sit down with Kevin. Then they sit down with Jasmina and Michael. They sit down with Alyssa and Chris, and then Mark and Lindsay. Right. And so when Kevin talks to the experts, he was like, okay, so were you surprised with what happened with Chris and Alyssa? And they were like, I mean, yeah, because we matched them up. Like, we didn't expect it to fall apart so fast. Well, first of all, to fall apart. Second of all, to fall apart so fast. And just the way it happened, like, they were surprised. They were surprised that all the couples said yes.
They were surprised.
They were like, you know, of course, that's what we like, but at the same time, it's like, why they all said yes?
Because I think Pastor Castle, we seen stuff in the background and seeing footage and seeing how things were going, and we didn't know how it was. We didn't know how it was going to go. You know, we wasn't for sure, but we were glad that they did say yes.
They talked about the people that split up. Like, how'd you feel about that? And Pastor Cal was like, you know, I was hoping that they would last, you know, after they said yes. But I mean, you know, it didn't, you know, and for one of the couples, like, it really could have. Dr. Viviana said, you know, she would hope that with Mark and Lindsay saying yes, that they would find a more mellow place once the cameras were gone. Maybe they could get into a better groove or whatever, and have something, not necessarily what everybody else would do, but something that was more viable and happy for them. I would say kind of like Beth and Jamie, but I think Beth and Jamie, they just really mellowed out, period. Like,
they got enough sense.
They
got more sense than. And plus, they moved too. Remember when they left?
Jamie's not like Mark.
No.
Mark kind of got ran over. Jamie wasn't the type to get run over.
Jamie's gonna give it back. He's gonna give it back, and Beth was gonna give it back, and then both realize, I'm sorry.
Right.
You know. And then, like I said, they moved away from family too. They moved away from Charlotte when they got married. After they got married, they went over to the West Coast.
When it came to Olajuwon and Katina, you know how they feel about that. and they were like, they were happy for them. Kevin talked about how the fact that, Olajuwon really learned and grew, in talking to them. He had a change of heart. He just really got to see himself, and they were like, kudos to Katina. They felt like Kevin said kudos to them because Katina and Olajuwon really turned out to be a great match.
Yeah.
And they just really balance each other out.
Great process. They went through the process. They understood it.
Yeah. As far as Steve and Noy, they were like, Dr. Vivian was like, I'm so proud of them. I'm proud of Steve. Steve, like, really shocked her. She was like, because, he came out with all this great insight and thoughtfulness. And one word she didn't say was maturity. Like, Steve was just mature.
She like, he could be one of the experts. Like the way he was coming off and the way he was speaking, the way he was teaching and helping them learn and move people, the advice he would give other couples. He could be one of the experts. Yeah,
she said, he just had this calm demeanor that made the difference in their relationship, because it was points where, somebody else might have been like, girl.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. If make some of the past cast members the experts. Like, certain ones, like Steve and what's my man from last season? Bald head dude from Houston. Gil, yeah. Everybody loved Gil. Everybody wanted Gil.
They love Gil, but
everybody, Gil speaking the truth. You know how he would, I would say, have church. How Gil would circle everybody up, right? Have court, and he would give advice. But anyway, Steve and Gil might be able to do something.
I say definitely Steve, maybe Miles. Miles. Who else would I say? I would say maybe Danielle, Bobby.
Yeah.
They real sensible, Danielle and Bobby. Keith and Christine.
Yeah, Keith and Christine.
Yeah. So. But anyway, so in talking about the Steve and Noy thing, Steve was like, bro, Dr. Pepper dropped a bombshell on us.
Yeah.
When they talk about living separate, he was like, my mind was blown. When Dr. Pepper was like, she lives separate. And Dr. Pepper was like, I didn't think by saying that it would just like explode the internet.
She like, I didn't think everybody knew. He thought everybody knew.
But Kevin, she was just like.
But what Kevin said was, what Dr. Pepper said to clean it up was, look, we had both been married before. We both don't have kids. It's not a new situation. We've been doing this for 16 years, and it works for us. I wouldn't advise this for a new couple.
Right. And let me add this. She said the other thing is, because they had been established before, they each had their own places that they didn't want to get rid of. And so it's not like they don't ever see each other. They do stay with each other. They just did not get rid of their houses,
Right.
And yeah, Dr. Viviana said the same thing as Dr. Pepper. It's not something I would advise when you're very young in your relationship. You need to be together. Hint, hint, Michael and Jasmina too. You need to be together to build on what you had already established in those 8 weeks. And so, yeah, I would never agree with that, because you need more time together to build that.
Yeah.
Like I said, the experts then talked with joined Kevin on the stage with Jasmine and Michael. And Kevin really was like, I'm just going to take a back seat. Both of these, the next couples that sit with the experts, Kevin's like, I'm just going to take a back seat and just let y'all talk. And so Dr. Vivian was like, I was shocked and sad that they didn't work out. Like, y'all didn't work out. Like, what the heck? It was like y'all were in a good place on decision day. And Jasmine was like, but then we just had a huge blowout. Okay, so what was the blowout about?
She went on some cockamamie story.
She wanted to use his laptop. He said she could use the laptop. And then when it came time to ask for the laptop, he was like, I didn't think you really needed it or wanted it. About bringing it over to her. I was like, this is dumb.
Stupid and immature.
This is dumb.
Look, Dr. Viviana's my MVP. I am going to miss Dr. Viviana. Because she don't let no BS slide. She's like, is that it? She said, over a laptop? Y'all serious? And then Jasmina goes into the communication, how she asked Michael never came to her house and all that.
Well, he came to her house once, and you call that trying. I did a lot of texting and calling you.
I called you every morning. I text you every morning.
I was expecting that from you, and you didn't give that to me. And Pastor Cow's look, I see what y'all too. there might have been life left in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all didn't have open and honest communication about your expectations. You know, Dr. Pepper was like, your perception meter is off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what y'all perceive is off. And y'all so stuck on what you perceive. It's like, it's not right. We're sitting here telling you, it ain't even right what you see, what you thought. It wasn't right.
I mean, because you even see their body language. They're still close. They still like each other. It's just they don't want to be in a relationship. Well, Jasmine don't want to be in a relationship. I think if Jasmine came back to Michael and said, yo, let's try again.
I don't know. When they were talking about it, he was like...
Because he's sour on it right now, though. But he was sour. But I think if she came and said, you know what, let's do this, and she gave a little bit of romance. I mean, a little bit. I ain't say necessarily romance. Some affection, affirmation. He'll be good. He'll be ready to go. Because he knows that he cares for her. And he knows that relationship can be. And Dr. Pastor Cal said it. Y'all could be a power couple. Mm-hmm. If y'all would just get out of each other's way.
Yeah, because he said what y'all went through, it wasn't abnormal. But the thing is, y'all treated it like it was fatal. And none of it was fatal. It wasn't killing. It wasn't like you can't recover from it. Y'all acted like you couldn't recover from it. He was like, we all married. You had ups and downs. It's just like, what do you do in those ups and downs? And when y'all had the down, it was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, you got some good days. You got some bad days. You got some hills to climb.
He said them again, you're not enemies. You can't fight against each other. Jasmina says, I think, it got bad because it's one thing when you got feelings for somebody and you have a falling out. Because you have feelings, it makes you want to keep trying. But we didn't have any feelings. So when it's bad, it's like...
That's the main answer right there. She didn't have any feelings for him. She just wanted to go through it. She didn't have any feelings. She was treating it as if they were dating and not if they was married.
And that's what Pastor Cal said. I just want to see. I mean, she said her exes, none of them look alike. I'm trying to figure out what she like. What was she looking for? Like, he's a good guy. He's not ugly.
Maybe she's looking for a cowboy.
I'm thinking he probably was too short.
That too.
And then of course the main thing is like, he ain't got no game. Michael, I'm sorry. He ain't got no game.
He gives up too easy.
He ain't got no game. But Dr. Viviana's like, but y'all have respect there, Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't the respect make you be like, you know what, let's try to get past it or whatever.
And Dr. Viviana tell you, you're gonna regret this when you get back in the dating pool.
Yeah, she did. But Jasmine said them keep butting heads. That kept the feelings. She was like, that kept me in the no feeling zone. Like, that kept turning me off. That turned me off even more when we butt heads. I'd be like, yeah, If I was gonna like him, like, I don't like him. That's something we said. She couldn't get to the romantic because she kept thinking about what irritated her. What she didn't like.
4 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, whatever case may be.
Or currently, and again, like you said, Pastor Cal says, y'all could be the power couple, y'all could be. Dr. Viv's like, don't never say never. Pastor Cal was like, we want it for y'all, but it's in the end, it's up to y'all. We think y'all a good match, but it's up to y'all. Jasmine was like, no, I just don't feel like he's my person, and I don't want to move forward with trying to see if anything's possible. That's when Michael was like, well, okay. All right. Alyssa, Chris, and the experts. Dr. Pepper's like, I need answers. I don't understand. How did you feel like it was such a failure of this match in so many ways? Like, how? How you feel like we mismatched you? She was like, we gave you what you wanted on your list. And she was like, I disagree.
Dr. Viv had receipts. She's like, hold on for a minute.
Oh, I'm about to get to that. I'm about to get to that. Because Alyssa's first day was, my list doesn't align with Chris, even though y'all feel like it did. Our core values don't match. And that's when Dr. Viv was like, well, wait. I pulled it up. I pulled up your questionnaire. I got it right here.
And it says...
your top 5 things that you were looking for in a man. Top 5 things. Hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
Compassionate.
He got that.
Funny.
He got that.
Loyal.
He has that. Definitely has that. He definitely has that.
This is what Alyssa said. She starts getting teary already. Well, I just didn't feel like y'all matched me on the loyalty. Dr. Viv was like, what?
Loyal.
That man stuck with it. He stuck with it. He didn't blast you.
Go ahead.
He didn't to your face nor behind your back. He didn't blow up the spot in front of the couples.
Could have.
What do you mean he wasn't loyal?
Look, Dr. Viv looked like she was on her last day of the job, and I'm gonna give you everybody the. I'm gonna give you
the business.
I'm gonna give you the business.
Pastor Cal rolled his eyes. Dr. Pepper was just staring like, "Am I hearing this right?" And like I said, that's when the waterworks started. Here come the tears. She was like, I was told I wouldn't feel attacked, and like right now, I do. I feel attacked, and I just don't know. I don't know how to articulate myself so any better than I am right now.
She a Karen. If there ever been a Karen, she's a Karen.
I don't understand.
You playing victim because
Why
they asking
are
you
doing
questions.
this to me? Dr. Viv's like, I'm just asking a question because you said we didn't match you, but this is what the paper says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo,
and
stop playing the victim role. Every time she didn't want to answer something or she didn't want to do anything, she played victim. Alyssa
was like, I just wish things could have gone differently. And Pastor Cal was like, well, on that, like, what are your core values? Like, what is it that you didn't match? She was like, well, I don't want to get into it right now. Like, I don't want to get into that.
Because she couldn't say anything. She could not say anything about what her core values were because her core values are what was put on the paper.
I just don't feel we were matched appropriately.
She was in a catch-22 because she said anything that she had put on the paper, she had lied.
Basically.
So now you're calling yourself a liar.
Pastor Cal was like, well, I'm asking about your core values because when I match people, that's what I'm matching them on, what their core values are. So to say that we mismatched you and that's not match you, I want to know what core values do you have there because it must be something that you didn't put down.
Yep.
And anyway, so they just went, Chris, and they talked about the fact that Chris said, he saw why they were matched. And he said, I just never got to the point where I could evaluate myself to actually see it. Because she had already determined that it wasn't a good look. Like, she had already figured it, and she didn't give me a chance to get to know her. Dr. Pepper was like, if I had known you had this very narrow template of who you wanted, I would never have matched you. And she was like, that's why I said, if you can't match me with who I want to be with, don't match me. And they were like, but we did not know that you was like this. And basically, what they didn't say, and which is a telltale sign when the ladies were asked, who would you match Alyssa with, is, I have these characteristics that I want in a person, but I need the outside. That's what, let's be real, that's what it was.
She didn't like my man's crooked teeth.
You didn't like the outside.
Yeah, she didn't like his teeth, his look, or his ruffy beard and his hair. She didn't like anything physically about him. But he had all the internal characteristics.
Let's just call it what it was.
You know what it is.
Dr. Viviana says, this is my advice to you. You need to get outside of judgment. Going forward, get outside of judging people at a first glance, a first interaction. You need to get outside of that. How did Chris feel? Chris says, I came into this process positive, and it just came crashing down. It was like, how did that feel? When it just like fell apart. And he was like, I don't have any heartbreak. I don't have any regrets. I learned about myself, and I'm still looking for love, and I know what not to take. And I can see warning signs beforehand.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper's advice to Alyssa was, again, you might want to loosen your list up, because you're not going to find exactly what you're looking for. And I think they talk about that later. It's like, you figure out what things are really deal breakers and what things aren't. Like, I might can bend on some of this, stuff.
Yeah, but I ain't.
But I have faith. Alyssa says, I have faith I'm going to find my person. I'm going to find my person. Basically, like, telling Dr. Pepper, I'm not changing my list. I'm going to find, if you could find that person, you would be married already.
Yeah.
It's going. Chris said it. You have to know. Oh, he said, you know, you want person to check certain boxes,
Right?
And some boxes may be bigger than others, but for her, these boxes that checked were more important, and so it didn't work out. But I've learned that it might not be about checking all the boxes. If they check most of them,
check most of them. Yeah, I mean, you ask any couple, do they spouse check every box? The answer is gonna be no. So you're not gonna check every box. I mean, it is what it is. We all do. I don't check her every box, but that's a whole different. I ain't 6'3".
But I'm not hung up on that. So I'll be obviously.
But we've been married 20 years and I love her.
Not hung up on height.
I got you.
You always say that. Anyway. The experts sit down with Lindsay and Mark. You know, they want to know, when did it explode after decision day? 7 days after.
They can't even get their story right.
Lindsay said, on my birthday, I wanted to, you know, okay, let's hurry up and get the apartment straight, you know, by my birthday, so I can get, you know, a birthday treat. I want a massage, I want a dinner, I want this. And he was like, I got that for you. I'm going to do that for you. And then she was like, 6 weeks later, I'm still waiting on it. Huh? What's 6 weeks? I'm confused.
I was confused too. Like,
because you said you didn't want nothing to do with him. But you're expecting, she was like, I got an IOU. And then she just threw in there, like, and nobody said nothing about it. That lady said my grandma died. And I was like, I had to rewind it. I was like, did she say my grandma died?
She said grandma died. She like she went through all this and grandma died and all that, and basically like, I needed somebody to comfort me, and Mark wasn't there.
And he was out.
He was out. I needed somebody, and he was done. After you spit on the man, well, spit on the shirt. I don't think she hawked a loogie on the shirt, but I think she was talking and then spit on it. So
that was like, dang. I mean, she said it real fast too. Nobody dignified what she said. I was like, she said her grandma, not his, right?
Yeah, she said hers.
She said her. I was like, dang. But yeah, you put me out. You know, he said he was gonna go back to work, and she didn't agree with it. And he said if she didn't agree, she could go. He was like, I have to do something. I can't just keep sitting here. And so that's when the fight started. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Pastor Cal was like, just their interaction in that and sitting there. He was like, y'all are acting out of a loss of respect for one another. Is the threatening, when you get threatening to you don't have respect for one another. Yeah. And she said, I didn't bully him. I went into fight or flight. Mark still says it's the most I've been bullied in my life, and then as an adult, like, wow. And Dr. Pepper was like, the problem is she was like, Lindsay, I talked to you about this before, is when you hurt, your response is anger. And your response is lashing out. And boy, when you lash out, you go for the jugular. And that's not good. And that's going to be something that you're going to have to work on, because that's going to be the downfall of your relationships. You just cannot do that. You need to work on that. Because when you lash out, you hit bone. And it's going to hurt you in the long run. And when they talked to Marcus, like, I feel like you had gratitude for how she was there and what she did for you, but it's like you were holding back with it, and you didn't always let her know, that you were grateful. It wasn't expressed, and that's something that you're gonna need to change. And Mark was just looking pitiful the whole time. It was like, Mark, what's going on? He was like, I just hate reliving it. I hate to keep talking about it. I'm reliving it. I don't want to do this. Yeah. Having these conversations. And it was like, Lindsay, how do you feel about his response? She was like, I just don't think it's genuine. I feel like he's faking. And when they asked her first, how do you feel about the response? And Dr. Viv was like, no, we don't know how you want to say honestly. And Lindsay was like, oh, you cutting me off. There you go, cutting me off, Dr. Viviana. And she was like, you don't have no tact. I don't want you to do what you about to do, poke him.
I don't want you to jab him anymore. I don't want you to keep putting holes in this dude. This dude is already like done.
He like Swiss cheese.
He's cut up. You can't get any more.
Yeah, and Dr. Viviana was like, when she said, I just don't feel like it's sincere or genuine, Dr. Viv was like, yep, there you go, one more dig. You just can't leave it alone. Give him one more dig. And they were like, it just shows that she's lost value and respect for him. And it's one thing to lose that, but it was like, you should not lose empathy. You got to have empathy, you know. And you know, again, they said, you know, y'all are very similar to each other.
Very similar.
And the fact that y'all don't get along, it shows that you lost respect for one another. And Mark said, after this, I just learned I'm going to speak up out of the gate. I'm going to do that.
But he can't. That's his characteristic. His characteristic is like his dad was. He sat there, no son.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to speak out of the gate. He needs to go ahead and tell Lindsay how he feels and all that. But he can't do it.
Mm-hmm. And so then we see all the couples come back with Kevin, and they talk about how Olajuwon and Lindsay worked out their conflict that they had initially, realizing that they're both a lot alike, and they were able to get on the same page, and Olajuwon could give her advice when it came to her, you know, her and Mark, and then also Katina and Olajuwon gave advice and talked a lot to Jasmine and Michael. They showed the funny clip where Olajuwon, when they first got married, he couldn't remember Katina's name.
My God.
He called her Jeanette, Jatine,
anything but
everything but Katina.
Everything but Katina.
Everything but Katina. She's like, oh yeah. He's like, wife.
Wife.
And he was like, she said, now it makes sense why he would just be calling me wife first, because he couldn't remember her name.
She thought he was being romantic. Like, wife. Nah, dog couldn't remember your name, sis.
They talked about with Lindsay, you know, it's like in these clips you had really great things to say about Mark until, you know, it turned, you know, like the incident at the bowling alley, you know, and they played that clip, and that's when everybody was cringing.
Everybody
like, oh
cringed.
my gosh.
I don't think everybody knew. I don't think nobody knew until they watched it, like all the extra, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, she really went in on this dude." Like,
and playing it again, they were just like, "Oof, this is painful."
It's real painful.
You know, it's like, did you go too far? And she was like, you know, I felt bad about the delivery. I could have used kinder words and with my message. And, you know, they asked, are you working on it? She said, yeah, I'm working on it. And Kevin was like, you know, you should apologize. He's right there. Why don't you apologize? And so she looks at him like, and Olajuwon was like, go ahead. We talked about accountability. You can do it. This is the time. It's never too late to apologize.
Coach Olajuwon, boy.
And she was just really looking like, to the point where, you know, they even went to commercial on it for us. Obviously, it didn't happen like that there. Well, they might have cut there, but, you know, she was just looking like, and it took her a long time to say anything. And, you know, she was like, she never apologized for what she said. What she apologized was, she said, I apologize if I hurt your feelings.
Right. But that's her way of saying it. That's her way of saying it.
If I hurt your feelings. And Steve, here goes Steve. Is it something else that you want an apology for, Mark? Is it something else you want an apology for? And he was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. And this
is my problem with Mark. Don't be weak in this moment. You got support, right?
But I guess but besides that, I guess he didn't want to bring it up.
Gotta bring it up. You have support here. It's not gonna go south. She did it. This is where you get your apology. This is where you get your closure. Like Kevin said, y'all never may have to sit next to each other ever again. See each other ever again. Talk ever again. Be involved ever again. So this is your moment to get it now. So go get it.
Yeah, but I guess in that moment he was just like, you know what, forget it. I don't want to be bothered with her. But anyway, so Kevin was like, you know, he said you spit on him. And she was like, what? And so, you know, that took a minute too. It was like, you know, I apologize if in the heat of it, you know, that I you know, some spit came out my mouth and hit you, you know. But
anyway, if I would have hawked and just spit on you, I would have did that. But you know, I was just talking.
I feel that's like really disrespectful.
Yeah, she was in a moment. I don't think she went.
Nah. But that was funny.
Yeah, that's fighting stuff right there.
So the last few things with them is they went through everybody's intimacy exercises with the candy bikini that Mark put on. He kept calling it candy cane. It's not a candy cane. No, it's just candy. Olajuwon with the drinking out his navel. Yeah. Stephen Noy with the semi-public place. Oh yeah, did that? You know, they got a good chuckle out of that. They never said what it was.
Sure, the last one got a chuckle out of the fact that something happened after they did that. Like maybe he got, you know.
Yeah, Kevin was like, you're never at a loss for words, you know.
He was just like, I'm gonna tell you what happened. Olajuwon's mind went back to that day and he realized what happened after that. I told y'all they wasn't poking, but they were doing a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so his mind went back, and he like, I better not say. I'm not gonna say nothing.
And we saw the video, which made me mad all over again, with Jasmina and Michael for their intimacy exercise. They did the tantric yoga, and how, bro, you just did not capitalize after that.
But you know what I noticed on that video? Hold up, you noticed on the very first scene of that video. Go back and watch it if you guys haven't. I know we're doing a review late, but when they was like laying spooning, I'm gonna call it, he wasn't up on her. There was some separation in that spoon.
A little bit.
It was a lot of separation. He wasn't like real tight. And I did that just like people could see my desk. but I'm not even like they can see what I'm laying.
Like saying it was like.
Like, yeah, it was like this.
He was like.
It was like this, but it should have been like this.
You ain't touched no parts of the booty.
You ain't touched no parts of the booty.
But that thing just made me mad because I was like, after that, you really should even if you didn't feel like you had no feeling in that moment, how could you leave there and not have some kind of feeling?
But remember, they did. They went back home and they laid in the bed.
But I mean, more than that.
More than that.
Like, it should have just went past that day, a couple of days. But anyway, and then Kevin went through some tweets out. People went in on with the stain on his drawers.
Drawers. Underwear.
His drawers.
Right.
He talked about how a pin broke. So they just went.
They went about Mark. Mark, how could you have sex with her and then tell her to pull back?
Yeah, they went in on that.
You know, Lindsay like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So they shared some tweets or whatever. But in the end, they talked about how they had such fun times.
Yeah.
I did a little dance party, played a video. And again, I know my brother-in-law was like
DJ Mark.
Yeah, DJ Mark the Shark. And I know my brother-in-law was like, I can't believe Jackie's saying that in front of Glenn. But I'm like, Jasmina, what's wrong with you, girl? Michael out there flexing it, like he out there dancing, he had to get his shirt on or whatever. Like, she really was turned. They talk. I'm like, girl, she must like bird-chested men.
No, she like men who can communicate. He can't communicate. He can't stimulate her. It's like Will almost. He can't stimulate her intellectually or emotionally.
We all know lots of people who can't hardly talk to nobody, but they can get into their body.
But she don't know if he can get into her body because she never tried.
I mean but I was just anyway. What do you want, girl? What do you want?
Not him.
But anyway, so that was the reunion, and next we got Where Are They Now? So I'm interested to see.
Interested to see where are they now? Because a lot of things they can play into part. I said I always think Jasmine and Michael may give it another shot.
She made it sound like no ma'am, no ham, no turkey.
She made it seem like a way. I want to see if they can give it another shot. We see Alyssa go out with Ryan, we think. And we see Chris talk about him and Olivia from the New Orleans season, which we said before anyway, when we start matching people up. We'll see. I mean, this season was interesting. Interesting people on there, I think, had the same story every week, right? But at the same time, we'll see how it plays out. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below and let us know what you thought of Married at First Sight Part 2 of the reunion. Hey, once again, thanks for joining us, and leave a comment in the comment section.
Bye.